Hi, Reverend.
How you doing, Lynn? Good to see you.
Good to see you too, Reverend. You look good.
Oh, thanks. You too. How's your summer going?
Thank you. Can't complain. Can't complain. This office is AC'd, so that's nice.
That's what, I hear you. I'm glad mine is too. I'm telling you, we need it right now.
Yeah.
Hi, Lynn and Tim. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Ken.
So just so you know, when you're talking, it's in the chamber the council chambers, just so that you're aware.
Okay. Thank you, Janine.
Yeah, it's totally
Thanks for letting us know.
nothing's live yet, but just so you know.
We're glad to know that.
I didn't know where the conversation was going.
Hi, everybody.
Kathy.
Gabby, how are you?
Good. How are you guys?
Good.
Good.
So, Reverend and Lynn, just stay muted unless you're called on, because otherwise we'll hear it in here. And we're going to start in just a moment. Thank you. Welcome, everybody. Today is Thursday.
Recording in progress.
Today is Thursday, July 1st, 2021. It is 5 o'clock Eastern Time. We are located in the council chambers in City Hall, and this is the monthly meeting of the City of Revere Human Rights Commission. We'll take a roll call of commissioners. Lynn Alexis.
Present.
Thank you. And Lynn Alexis is participating remotely via Zoom. Reverend Bogertman.
Present.
Thank you. And Reverend Bogertman is participating remotely via Zoom. Chief Callahan.
Present.
Thank you. Oh, Chief Bright. Sorry, I skipped over you.
It's okay, here.
Thank you. Jalon Fowler.
Present.
Thank you. Dr. Lorenzo Garcia.
Present.
Thank you. Shema Mansour Hosseini.
Present.
Thank you. Rashid Mugabir.
Present.
Thank you. Karu Pish.
Present.
Thank you. Kathy Ann Reinstein.
Present.
And Kathy is participating remotely via Zoom. Thank you. And I am the chair, Janine Grillo-Mara. For those of you that are joining us, please bear with us. This is the first time that we're meeting in person since the Human Rights Commission was reactivated and we started our meetings last fall. We have only met remotely via Zoom. So this is our first time in the chambers. It's our first time with a hybrid experience. So we ask that you be patient. We hope things go as smoothly as possible, and we appreciate your understanding. If you haven't seen our meetings, we usually begin by arriving and settling, becoming more present so that we can really fully participate in our meeting. And so let's all find a comfortable way of sitting. And you can either close your eyes if that's comfortable for you. If you choose to keep them open, there's no need to focus on this or that. You can just rest your eyes in an unfocused way in the space in front of you. And just what will help you to arrive here now, to relax. So maybe release any obvious tension in the body. Maybe take some nice, long, deep breaths if that feels comfortable. Maybe even bring an image to mind of a loved one or the natural world if that helps you to feel more at ease. Just the simplicity, the preciousness of being here alive, sitting, breathing, being together. And now let's finish by taking a few moments to recall the recent tragic events in Winthrop this past Saturday and bring all those involved to mind. Those who tried to help, those who felt fear, terror, sadness, loss, and particularly those who lost their lives. May we remember that we're all here living and dying together. May we treat each other with kindness, dignity, and respect. And I'll now read the Hrc Mission Statement, which was approved January 7th, 2021. The mission of the Revere Human Rights Commission is to promote human and civil rights and empower all people of Revere by ensuring that everyone, especially the most vulnerable and marginalized, have equitable opportunities, equal access, and are treated with dignity, respect, fairness, and justice. So the next item on the agenda is to approve the minutes from the June 3rd HRC monthly meeting. This was distributed to the commissioners with the agenda. If any commissioners would like to speak, if you had any proposed changes And if not, then someone could request a motion to approve the minutes from the June 3rd meeting.
I make a motion to approve the minutes from the June 3rd meeting. Second.
All in favor? Raise your
Aye.
hand.
Aye.
Aye, yes, you can, yep.
Aye.
Aye. And those who are on Zoom, can you either unmute yourself or raise your hand? Thank you. So all are in favor. Next is approval of the minutes from the June 3rd HRC executive session. So again, if anyone would like to speak, if you have any proposed changes, or we could have another motion.
I can make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Kathy.
I second.
Who seconded? Shalon. Okay, thank you, Shalon. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. And those on Zoom are raising their hands. Okay. And our next topic for discussion is the job description for the new Director of Diversity, Equality, and Inclusion, or DEI, position. This is a new job that just got approved in the budget effective July 1. Do you have that, JD? So I'm going to ask JD to screen share that. And if possible, could you make it, enlarge it so we can see it? Great. Can people see that? Or if you have reviewed it in advance, you can, or if you've printed it out, that's fine. I have a copy here if anyone, would anyone like to see a print copy? I just have one. So, sorry. So Rashid, when you're done, Chief Callahan, you might pass it along. So this job description is broader than the executive director job description that we were asked to review and give input, I think back in March. Most of that executive director job description, most of those responsibilities are included, but this is a much broader job description. So what this commission had recommended back then, I made sure was included. There were particular bullets that had come up that I made sure were included. But if anyone else would like to speak, please unmute yourself. And for those of us that are, it might be a good idea. For those looking at the screen, JD, I forgot to mention we have JD Jaramillo supporting us here this evening. He is a city staff member, so say hello to JD, thank you. He'll scroll down the job description slowly so that those of you that are following by the screen can look that way. And otherwise, we can just practice being patient. For anyone who feels they have reviewed it, was there anything to add, or you might just feel you're okay with it?
I could add, let me know if it's actually on on the document and I just missed it, but I think it should be required for the person who's taking on this position to do like the training that we plan on doing this October as well.
Yes.
Oh, it's on there?
It's not on there, but that is the intention,
Oh,
that the
okay.
DEI would be part of our training.
Oh,
Yes.
okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you. And I can inquire to see if that needs to be on there, but that has already been discussed, that the person would be invited.
Madam Chair, can I ask a question?
Yes.
Maybe I'm missing it, was looking over it again, but I guess I'm just curious because I know when the commission was first reestablished in initial discussions, there was that discussion about like when and if complaints come. Am I missing reading this, that this would be the person that would get the complaints? I don't know if am I just missing this on this?
Rashid, are you done with that job description? Or actually, I can look at it online, wait a minute. Just give me a moment, Kathy. I know that,
It said, I'm sorry, it says works with city departments, boards and commissions and elected officials to identify and resolve issues brought to the attention of the HRC. Okay, it's there.
Okay.
Sorry.
and also, I think that when this person comes on board, there will be further discussion about how mediation should be handled, how hearings should be handled. Should it even be that person's responsibility, or will there be a separate process for that? So I think that's why it's listed in a more general way as opposed to this specific person being responsible.
Thank you. And I think it also says working closely with the HR director. So I would think, I mean, I know it says it to work to enhance recruitment and retention efforts, but also I think with some of those issues as well, if it becomes a city side issue.
So do you have any suggestions, Kathy, or do you feel that it is covered enough?
I think it's covered enough because I would think at the beginning it says, I mean, essential functions. I mean, it doesn't mean that other things won't come up that aren't on here. I mean, I think as any job description, you know, there's always things that add to any job description or depending on what the climate is or if an issue appears, you know what I mean? So I think it looks okay. I feel okay with it.
Yeah, I think the bullet works with city departments, boards, commissions, and elected officials to identify and resolve issues brought to the attention of the HRC. It's written broadly, but that will cover many, many aspects. All those, when anyone contacts us through our webpage, and then whatever steps may be needed from that, whether it's an email response or a meeting or directing someone to other resources or helping to set up a mediation. I get the sense that that bullet is referring to any and all of those or maybe even more duties.
Thank you, and thank everybody for their work on this.
Thank you, Kathy. Anyone else?
I had one question or thought. I know that this covers all interaction with the city.
All what?
All, you know, potential things within the city, and that the school department is part of the city. But I feel like diversity in our schools, especially among faculty and staff, is a hot and relevant current issue. I know there was an equity board brought together this year to address it, and I think that would be a relevant thing right off the top that someone should come in and partner with and contribute their expertise to.
Okay, wait a minute. Page 2. Okay.
I mean, it might be I'm missing it, but called out there, but just want to make sure.
Well, I just saw, it looks like there might be a typo, liaison with community-based organizations, human relations organizations, faith-based organizations, and related public and private organizations concerned with advancing equal opportunity objectives.
Yeah, I really think the school department in the city, it's a big issue that it should be called out specifically. I know it's been the topic of,
So it's sort of under that bullet, but you're suggesting it might need to be more specific.
that's my thoughts, just since we're taking thoughts. I really do think that there's been so much, it's been enough of an issue that there's been separate committees taking it up. I know it's in the superintendent's office, and I know Dr. Garcia can probably speak more to it, but it's being addressed. And the students themselves have also advocated for it, even in their valedictorian speech a couple of times. It's an issue.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dr. Garcia, I have a feeling you might want to speak on this.
Sure. I'd like to first, there are two issues. One is the suggestions that Kathy made about whether the person, this person that is in charge of inclusion rate, about inclusion, diversity, and equity, should address complaints coming from the public. I think this person should be advising the executive director on these issues, because this person will not have any type of legal degree. So the executive director it will be a requirement for the executive director to have some experience with legal issues and other things. So I think that the two should work together towards resolving any conflict, particularly those issues that are related to race, equity, and inclusion. So this person can be used as an advisor to the board, to the executive director, and the two of them probably will address that. The second issue,
I just want to say one thing. So
Yeah.
in case it's not clear, this DEI director is taking the place of what we thought would be an executive director. So that DEI director will be working with the mayor's office and other department heads and boards to help sort of give them direction.
My apology. I
That's
thought
okay.
that the two positions were being hired, so.
I apologize if I wasn't clear.
If that's the case, then, it should be addressed by the person. So regarding the suggestion that Jolon just made, I think it's an important suggestion. It's actually welcome suggestion. That's my job. That's what I do as the Assistant Superintendent of Equity and Inclusion. And it's good that the two entities work together towards solving issues in our school department, also addressing issues that are related to the community at large. So I think it's a good suggestion. There are issues, potential issues that probably this person and I will have to be involved in and support the overall school system and also the community. So.
Yes. Thank you. That's what I thought, that you two would really, on certain situations and issues, would really be working closely as a team. Okay. But I will note that you support Jalon's comments. Anyone else?
I can go.
Yes, Madam.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Shay.
No, I totally agree with what Jalon is saying, especially since to the point where I think the trainings that we're planning to do ourselves could be extended to like some of the teachers and some of the administration in the education department is like just like what Jalon said, like a lot of people have been a lot of students especially have been talking about this issue. Like I've been a part as well with the educational justice, like RAJA especially. Not personally, but I have friends who are a part of that program that like mention all these issues, and I think like, just reiterating what Jalan said, like, it's big enough of an issue that multiple committees had come and have been developed to address this sort of situation. So I think having us part just focusing on school and education justice is definitely an important piece of the role that we want for this particular individual.
Thank you, Shay. And there is a point here about the training piece in education. It's the second page, maybe 2/3 down. Supervises and coordinates the design and implementation of training and education on non-discrimination ordinances and initiatives. So that would cover taking the kind of training that we're doing this fall out into the employees or other officials, the community. So my sense is that would cover the training piece. But I'll make a note that you're also in support of highlighting the school department with the comment that Jalan had mentioned. Go ahead. Wait a minute. Who? Okay. So we'll take Karu and then Lynn. So thank you. Thank you, JD. Karu first and then Lynn.
Thank you, Chair. I also would imagine that when we're talking about training and community forums and coordination, it's depend on who we get, right? I would not imagine having a person of color undoing racism training, right? So the other piece is that this person is gonna represent the citywide. So I hope that there will be a plan for all the city employees getting the undoing racism training moving forward, and definitely school department and others as well. And I hope that I know Dr. Garcia said that we would love to have someone who has some legal background, and although some activists who's doing all the undoing racism work and social equity and so on and so forth, they might not have that degree, but they still qualify for that position. Just want to make sure that we are open to looking into.
And my sense is that, like what you said, depending on the person, if it's a person of color, they're overseeing who would do the training and education for white people. Or depending if this person is an attorney, has civil rights laws background, is an activist. I think that the position, of course, will take shape, and that support system around the person will be determined based on who actually gets the job. But my understanding is what you're saying is definitely being taken into consideration and is the thought process.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you. And Lynn, Alexis had her hand up.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. So just clarification on that last point of discussion between you and Karu regarding training. So I guess maybe it's because I'm not sure exactly the syllabus of the training that we would undergo, but my preference would be to start from an equal playing field. So it's important to get educated on, the nuances of racism, even if you belong in a class that has been, commonly discriminated against. So I think the training should be catered to the needs of whatever is going on. But I think that, training everyone needs training, right? And if the person is going to be responsible to mediate this type of things, or, they should have training as well. So, regardless if they know the basis of the training. I think it's important that they're trained as well. So I do want to say that, but I do have 3 questions regarding the DEI position. First is the hours. It says varies here, but my suggestion, and depending on the depth of the work that they have to do with the city of Revere as a whole, not to mention the HRC, it seems to me that, having a full-time position is appropriate. So that's one question, just understanding the hours that we're proposing that this position hold.
I believe it is full-time, but that's a good point that it maybe should even state full-time, hours vary, so it's clearer, some nights and weekends required.
And the second question is, on this first page, it mentions a racial equality municipal action plan. So if there's a way that could be made available to the commissioners, I'd like to kind of, take a look at that to see what that entails. So that's the second question, just wondering, what that is and if it could be made available to us.
So Dr. Garcia is involved in that, and Ruben, there's other people in the city involved, and that, my understanding is that group sort of fairly recently formed, and they definitely want to share information with us. I had actually asked them if they were ready to share a certain document, and they weren't, but it is definitely in their radar to share information with us. Dr. Garcia, is that correct?
That's correct. It's a vibrant group, actually, very dynamic. There's a lot of PDs that we have received already, and certainly when time comes, I see the group working with a Human Rights Commission very well in terms of disseminating information, learning from each other, and continue to educate ourselves on diverse topics that really, affect the city. So we have actually we have people from different municipalities in Massachusetts, basically trying to do their best to really come up with real solutions and ideas in terms of improving our diversity in the city. So when time does come, we'll be able to share information.
And I think whether it's you or someone else that's on that committee can even do a presentation to give us a little bit more perspective. The only reason it hasn't been done so far is it's a recently formed group, and they just haven't been ready to share information. But I think, Lynn, you may have had one more point or question?
Yes, it's just a question. Who is the union that represents the city? Or the professional employees?
I didn't hear that.
The union that represents the professional employees of the city?
What union represents the city employees?
Is somebody else here available that knows the answer to that?
Madam Chair, I just know that there's probably several unions that represent the city.
Right, the professional employees, but that was just a question, Madam Chair. We can get some more intel at a later time. I don't want to hold up the discussion for it. But thank you, Kathy, as well.
Thank you. So just one thing to finish with Lynn, as I wanted to mention, when this group does our training September 30th and October 1st, and hopefully the DEI is in position and will be joining us, there will be opportunity, you'll get more information about this, that each of us will be able to fill out a survey, give input into what we feel is important for the training. We're really going to be able to customize the training for the needs of this commission in the city of Revere. So I just wanted to, let everyone know that, since you had mentioned, the training and the person having training themselves. With Rashid?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I found this job description is well detailed. I just want to mention something in here. It's kind of long. It touches everything. And we have to understand what we want. It's not what's out there. And what's out there is not necessarily going to apply for the job and will like the salary and those kind of benefits. So in my opinion, if we can list like the top 5 skills, as you all know, I've been doing tech support job program, and I've been helping people to place them in jobs. Job descriptions that I have seen lately are kind of short, right to the point, and companies have been struggling filling out positions. Just last week, I helped like place 3 people that they want them to start next day. They can't even wait because once they found the person, they can't wait. The most important thing in this position is someone who's coming from the community, someone who understands the community, someone who understands the issues in this Revere community. Someone coming from New York or California doesn't necessarily knows what's going on in our city. Someone who's been, who has a track record of community organization, and more importantly is someone who listens, because we will be providing training. And as far as I know, we are all from different backgrounds to complement each other, and we will be backing that person, whoever that person is. We will be all working together to make the HRC the best and to make our city the best place to live in. Thank you.
So Rashid, just to respond, the HR director has already mentioned, like you said, this is too long and detailed. And so after the HRC gives input, it's going to be looked at again to try to condense it. So that's already in the sort of thought process. There had been a sentence, I don't know if, am I overlooking it or it got removed by mistake, but there was a sentence in here that said that the applicant either needed to reside in Revere or be familiar with the, particular nuances isn't the word that was written, but be familiar with and understand the community. Did someone see it?
Yeah, it says Revere residency required, or candidate must be able to demonstrate
Okay.
that he or she has sufficient connection to the city
Okay.
to understand its cultural and political climate.
Thank you, Vice Chair Shea. So I think that spoke to one of your, the point about really coming from the community or knowing the community. Thank you. Anyone else? Oh, Karu?
I just want to point out the salary piece of it. Is it a proposed salary? Is it the baseline salary? Can we increase it or?
My understanding is that that was what was approved by the city council for the budget. So I think that's what it will go in is this year, and how that gets negotiated during interviews is between the mayor and the HR department.
Is it possible to make suggestions to the mayor to have the salary at least between 85 to 100? Because I feel like this is a huge responsibility and the salary is kind of low. And especially we are hiring somebody to doing the work of, equity and doing racism.
I can pass it along. I'm not sure at this point where the budget's been approved, if that will be possible, but I can at least mention that, that you feel that it should be more like 85 to 100,000 salary range.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Dr. Garcia?
So under qualifications,
What did you say?
under qualifications.
Yep, qualifications.
Bachelor's degree in humanities, political science, and other related fields if required. Then you have Juris Doctor, which is fine. But we have to, it has to be Juris Doctor or Masters. There, you know, it's just or.
Okay,
It's
oh, I see,
missing there.
typo, okay, yeah,
Yeah,
yep. Thank you.
yeah.
Okay. We all set with this? So what I will do is summarize this and submit it to the Human Rights Director. And these are our recommendations, and it's really up to the mayor and the Human Rights Director at this point, the mayor's office and the Human Rights Director, what they may implement or not. But once we do have a final job description, I'll send it out to everyone, just so you can have it on record, or maybe refer people you know. Okay. The next topic is the Hrc Resources Web Page, and Jalon Fowler will speak on this, and she and Shay, the vice chair, and Dr. Garcia was helping to get this going, and she's going to give the update because she sort of just, you know, took the lead to compiling these resources onto a spreadsheet, and so she's going to let you know it's a work in progress. This is the first step of just trying to get things together. So, you know, please know that we are at the very beginning. And I'll hand this over to Jalon. She'll give you a little update, and then you can ask questions or give input.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It would be helpful if we could, there you go.
There we go. So JD just
Thank you.
shared this, and we'll have to enlarge it a bit. I mean, just so we don't have to read every line,
No.
JD, but just so we can see, you know, get a gist of it.
Yeah, and I'll set the lay of the land for everyone. If you can just zoom in a little bit so I could describe what we have here. Yeah, that's great. Thank you. So again, this is our inventory of resources. So don't panic if it's not exactly what you envision at this point. It's purely an inventory for us to gather resources. And so the resources are listed down in column A, and across the top in the first row you'll see there are categories. So this is a split screen, it's starting at N, but if you were to go all the way back, you'd see there are a number of categories. Again, a first start, and this is essentially metadata. So if you envision that we're going to create a pool of resources, these are all the possible things right now that somebody may want to search on, or a way that we want to categorize it. So the resources and the categories are the things that we need to come together and add to. Thank you for everyone who's already submitted resources. I've tried to put them all here as best as I could. Just note that if you gave a really big, something like United Nations or a big site, we're asking that you go back and narrow it down a bit so that that can be better categorized and fit into one of our categories, so that if somebody comes here and searches for a particular category, like they're looking for some self-care kind of thing. Well, I guess I should have started with, this is for anti-racism. I know we know here on the committee what it is, but to the public, these are resources for anti-racism. So that would be helpful. One note, just if you have a large website, if you could break it down a little bit so it can fit in nicer. And we also have a tab there for category. So if you wouldn't mind clicking on category definition, JD. Thank you. Sorry, it's so tiny.
And now just enlarge, there we go.
Yeah. So here again, I've taken a first pass at defining what the categories that we started out with mean. So again, it's not all inclusive right now, but just a starting point for different topics and subjects that somebody may come to the Hrc resource page looking to learn more about. So this will be available to everyone to take a look at. We do need to talk about our boundaries. do we allow everything and then let the director weed them out, or are we able to come together with ground rules? Do we want things that are not at all controversial? And it's not going to be necessarily an easy thing for us to decide on, but that's the beauty and sometimes the difficulty when we all come from different backgrounds. Something might be considered not appropriate, not family friendly, too controversial, and another person might feel, oh, this is just essential, it needs to be there. So we can let it ride and then leave it to the director to make the final call, or we can come up with ground rules ourselves. Yeah, so with that, I'll open it up back to you, Chair.
I think what else, since I have the spreadsheet in front of me, I'll just read, because you may not be able to see them. I'm going to read the categories so far that Jalon came up with. And remember, the resource could fall under a number of different categories, okay? So one resource could fall under different ones. So she has, it could be organization, allyship, educational, self-help, author, educator, books, podcast, documentary, in that category, activist, social media, movies, African American, Asian American, Islam, Jewish, LGBTQ, Latinx, immigration. I think that's all. So those are the different categories that resources could fall under, and a given resource could fall under more than one category. And that's, did you want to add anything else, Jalon?
I guess, no, that covers it all.
I think we have to, the people that so far submitted, please don't feel offended if you feel like, why aren't my resources there? So we started with what Shay and I had put together for the last meeting. Dr. Garcia had some resources that we mentioned at the last meeting. Jalon added hers. So everyone will have an opportunity, if you want, to submit resources, and we will need to create a process for that. So maybe that everyone's not going on the spreadsheet, we'll create some system. Go ahead, Carol.
Madam Chair, the category that you just listed, do we have Indigenous, Native American as
I
part
don't.
of it? Can we add that?
Yeah, absolutely. This is why we're here. I'm sure there's many I missed, so thank you for that.
Thank you.
Welcome any additions as well.
I have a question. Do you think that we could extend this, I guess, like suggestion list to like people of the public? So like if there's like a category that none of the commission members have thought of, but like someone in the public can they like contact us and be like, hey, can you add this? Can you add that? Or like even if they want, they could even suggest like resources that we haven't even thought of, and we could like see whether or not they could go on the list. Can we do that?
I think that we could discuss it. I don't see why we can't. I think that it might be helpful to first get the input from other people that might want to give input, so that we have a fuller representation before we then, invite it out.
Madam Chair, I have a comment, if I may. Thank you, Jalon, for taking the lead on this, and whoever contributed. I do think that the categories are really broad, and I think that there may be a space for them. So when I think about resources that an HRC can provide, I think about education, I think about definitions, I think about stuff like the law. So I think it may be beneficial to provide resources as far as, what is it? Like, what does racism look like? Or what does it mean to have these rights? Or what are your rights? But I think my concern is providing such a plethora of options that we may get into the weeds of, how do we qualify this? Is there something that we're going to stay away from? And like appeasing people's preferences. So I just, I think there has to be a balance of not necessarily saying, hey, these are things that are beneficial and may help you understand these topics versus, these are what these topics are. I'm just concerned that these resources may just be, some of them, I've watched a few of the films, but, they may kind of teeter like entertainment sort of, with educational background for sure. But I just think that there has to be, discussion of like, what is our role in kind of educating the public and what kind of education are we going to provide? I think Jalan may have mentioned this last session, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but just the idea of providing like trusted resources, for an example, like organizations that have, tested and trusted resources that we can point the public to, and not necessarily providing, films or podcasts that, it turns into, well, how are these vetted, and like from what perspective are they pointing? I don't know. That's just a thought. I'm just concerned about, going into the weeds with different recommendations. Maybe losing, the education and or something more standard, more, yeah.
Thank you, Lynn. I guess, Jalan, that, when you, at the last meeting, when you thought that it might be easiest for us to just refer to certain groups or organizations and use their resources, did you have a thought in mind when you created the spreadsheet to sort of go in a slightly different direction?
Well, the dilemma I had is if someone sent me a resource this go round, I didn't feel like it was my place to remove it because we hadn't, as a group, said what our boundaries are. That's what I'm getting at when I say we need to determine what we want to do. And I think, Lynn, Alexis, you're saying the same thing. And if we feel not comfortable doing some things, for example, if there's a movie there that's a bit of like what would be considered blaxploitation, right, for example, there is a message there, but that's we're just not comfortable, for example, doing, or something that has too much profanity, maybe we want to set those ground rules for ourselves. And then we can, whoever's editing this would feel comfortable to take it out. But I just, again, want to say this is what was submitted in the direction we're going in, so we do need to, maybe rein it in or have some criteria. Am I answering what you're...
Actually, I think we may have had a brief conversation when we were talking about the project that, now it's coming back to me, that if we only use other organizations, so now someone clicks, what is the likelihood that someone is going to go through this huge organization's website? And my sense was that that was sort of why you thought it was worth it to just compile what we had. We might not use all of these, but people might be more likely to sort of look at what we were listing rather than we send them to this webpage that, website that might have, 30 pages of different resources that can just be overwhelming. Even though it might be wonderful information, it could be overwhelming. Was that correct?
Yes, it was, but maybe, was that in response to Lynn Alexis? Maybe I misunderstood. I thought she was more saying that, questioning some of the entries.
I think my sense is, and Lynn can speak for herself, that she was questioning, are we getting too detailed, which you said, these may not all make it. We need to have some boundaries and ground rules. But then she went back to how at the last meeting you had said, why don't we, instead of creating our own resource, just use certain trusted organizations. And then I think we talked about that and said, well, when you go to these trusted organizations, sometimes the websites are so overwhelming. Will people actually take the next steps to look at things and educate themselves? And was that's what I was sort of remembering.
Yes.
So I was trying to also respond to Lynn's comment, bringing that back up.
And if I could just add one more thing. So the categories wouldn't be visible to the public. It was, again, search hits like tags work, just in case anyone's thinking that might be confusing.
Yeah.
A way to tag the entries so that their search would be more
Right.
productive and efficient.
So this is more for, as you're gathering information to see where it lands, but not necessarily that this would be listed for the public. Okay.
Yeah, and when so behind the scenes, when someone would search on our site, these tags would go to their respective resources, and those particular ones would be brought up. We would be determining, that relationship. That's what the categories are really designed to do.
Madam Chair,
Yes?
I just really want to say quickly, this is a lot of work. I appreciate everybody that put work into this, because to try to take all of the different ideas and try to have a semblance of organization is a lot, so thank you. And I'm also apologizing because I still owe you some of my suggestions, so I apologize that I'm late with that. Thank you. Thank you for your work.
Thank you, Kathy. And Kathy, we really haven't asked too much for resources yet, so don't worry, you haven't missed anything. We were trying to just get it started small. Did anyone else want to speak? Dr. Garcia?
I just want to thank Delon for compiling these resources. And first, this is a lot of work. There's no doubt about it. And I just want to thank you for doing that. Just looking the way the information has been organized, it makes me wonder whether, because this is the first phase of data collection. That's what we're doing right now. We are basically collecting data, different types of information regarding Human Rights Commission, just civil rights, just to educate the population. So I think my vision, the way I see it down the road, would be really, and I've stated this again, and I will state it again. We have we already have a Human Rights Commission link on the website. I think down the road, what we need to do is to create a web page for the Human Rights Commission. That's what needs to be created. On the web page, you will have you may have information about human rights, because a lot of people see us, they don't know really what we do, and they don't know the context, the historical and political context of the Human Rights Commission. What happened, a century ago or 60 years ago? Nobody knows about that. So I also see us having something that talks about local news, what's happening in our community, what's happening, around the nation, internationally. Then I see also a link, a place, a tab, where we can have resources on human rights. That's where these resources come about. So when you have resources, obviously, you will be required, actually, that's a given, you have to have a glossary of terms. When you talk about systemic racism, not everyone understands what systemic racism is about. You go there, you click on it, you see the term there. When somebody talks about cultural responsive practice, not anyone knows that. You click on it, you see the definition right there. Then, that's the way it should be organized. But we're just starting this. And I just want to thank you for putting this together. Maybe the next step would be for the committee to filter the information. What is valid, having on the site, what's not valid. That's what needs to happen as the next step. Just my 2 cents.
So, thank you, Dr. Garcia. When you say what is valuable and what is not valuable, do you mean once others give some input on resources, then to look at those to see, like, sort of what we're calling censorship or boundaries, what's
Right.
valuable and what's not valuable?
Right, because there's a lot of, as you know, there are, sites there are sites that are on the internet that are not trustworthy. You will find a lot of information there, and sometimes you got to dissect and filter those information out to make sure that they're meaningful, they're relevant to us. And sometimes we have our own bias in terms of collecting and selecting information. And that's why I'm proposing that probably what we need to do is to really look at the types of information that we are filtering to make sure that they are, probably the word valid is not the right word, they are meaningful and relevant to us. That's all I'm saying.
Yes. I was just going to say, I think what's most important is what is meaningful for the city of Revere.
Correct.
So we might think that there's these great organizations with great resources, but they may not be meaningful or relevant for the people in this community. So that's what you were saying, correct?
Right, correct, yeah.
Does anyone disagree with that? Okay. Does anyone else want to say anything? Rashid?
First, I just want to thank Jalon for this awesome job that she did. It's a lot of information, it's a lot of research. I also want to thank Dr. Garcia for contributing with his years of experience in equity and diversity as part of the equity board. My only concern is if we can have like a search box to make it easy for people to search all of these wonderful information out there. The other thing that was suggested by one of my colleagues is better to point to other sites, as information may change and it's going to be very hard for us to keep updating the site. I agree with Dr. Garcia for having a web page for the HRC. It's going to look as independent, and probably you would agree with us. We work with the city, but we don't work for the city. We are bringing community concerns, and we want it to be kind of independent page. The other thing, if we can have some social media presence, people, nowadays, they don't just go and keep reading about things. They search things as they happen. And as an example, what happened in Winthrop, probably people are out there and looking for things. And we want people to be able to find us and find the work that we are doing in our social media channels. Thank you.
Thank you, Rashid. So what I'm hearing is, and someone correct me if I'm wrong, or this is not accurate, I'm hearing two things. We can continue with the resource project and decide what we might feel is valuable in categories, but on a separate note, which is a little bit more long-term, it would be the expansion of what we have now is a human HRC web page, which is part of the city website, that we may need something that is more elaborate than that, whether it's a standalone website or it links from the city's website, but then it has its own maybe 3, 4, 5, 6 pages or whatever. But that's a little bit more long-term. And we need the support to do that, the direction from the DEI, and we need to make sure who's the team of people that will be able to do that for us. But there's the short term of continuing this project, getting more input from commissioners that haven't given recommendations, and then the recommendation that long-term we feel that there needs to be more of a internet presence, and that includes social media presence, almost like HRC Facebook page or Twitter or whatever it might be. Whoever is going to manage that, that's all part of the support. Is that correct?
That's correct. I also would like to add one more thing to what Rashid just said, which I find a fascinating idea, which is basically having somebody that is part of the media in the community, listen to stories, capturing images, talking to people, being on the ground, really understand what the dynamics of our city, what's going on, what members of our community are saying, and actually producing blogs, information that can go there. People can go and read activities and stuff like that. That would be something that would be welcome to this Human Rights Commission, because people really, really, really appreciate that. So, for example, a few days ago, we had 2 houses or 3 houses burning down right now out there. Wouldn't it be wonderful to have somebody interviewing those people and see their concerns, their tragedies, the things that they really suffer, and put it out there and show that the Human Rights Commission is caring about those type of things that produce, it would be really, really good. So just things that we, as we grow, as we evolve, we can start thinking about.
Yes. Yes, I mean, we all look forward to relaunching the listening series, or having, I envision having difficult conversation type meetings. But all of these would be more community outreach, hearing from people and, having someone that could help organize this. So, does anyone else want to speak? Chief Callahan, were you getting ready to speak or no? Okay.
Madam Chair, if you don't mind, I think that's an excellent idea by Dr. Garcia, but it's gonna be probably, we need someone to do that kind of job. But it will be definitely very, very beneficial to the HRC and to get the word out there and encourage people to come voice their concerns. One of the resources that I didn't find our commission took advantage of, it was like, I think the must hire had like a collaboration or a partnership with the city to hire those youth for summer jobs. That probably we could have taken advantage of that and have someone hear from, at least from our youth, and bring us the youth concerns, and why not do some stories as they happen in our community. We could take that into consideration for the fall or the summer as well.
Yes.
Yeah, no, Rashid brought up a really good point. I was about to say it too, so thank you for mentioning it. But I think we should definitely utilize our youth to the point where I think it would be a good idea if we could have some dedicated youth go out in the community and do stuff like that. I know, like, as someone who's like a part of RIA and all that stuff, like, I know I love enjoying doing like something under like a similar category. But I feel like not only will it get like our youth very involved with their community, but like we get to see issues from a youth lens as well, which is, I feel like, something that the city as a whole has some trouble with, because the youth always seem like, well, based off what I hear, like they always seem like they have issues with getting their concerns being heard by the city. So I feel like getting youth involved is a very good idea. Speaking as a youth myself, and maybe even we could like create a subcommittee. I don't know if you guys want a subcommittee that just I mean, it can just only focus on youth, but surrounds issues that impact like daily youth life.
Are you suggesting a subcommittee at this point?
No, I mean, it doesn't have to be this point, but like definitely up in the future. I think it would be a really good idea to be like to have like a section of the HRC to focus on youth related issues as well.
Yeah, I mean, I sense that once we have direction from the DEI position, a youth subcommittee, an education subcommittee, there would still probably be the cultural holidays subcommittee. Like, I mean, we've sort of waited a bit on some of this until we get more direction, but I don't think any of us here feels that there aren't important areas that will fall underneath our mission statement once we elaborate on that, to have these subcommittees. And, I would want the youth to know that this is reciprocal. So we have to work together and come together. So, and if anyone has any ideas, the way that Jalon has sort of taken the lead to compile this, if anyone has an idea of they know a youth in the community that they feel they might be able to reach out to, that might want to help sort of get involved. We have different projects going on. There's ways for people to get involved right now without being on the commission or without us having a subcommittee. So, you just have to pass that information along, and as long as the mayor's office is in support of it, that would be fine. Okay. Yes?
If you don't mind, Madam Chair, I think it's a question for JD present with us in here. I know that I have seen like a lot of youth in the city hall, for the summer jobs, and they know that the city is trying to find some projects for them to keep them busy during the summer. If we have some good ideas, probably can help.
Yes, thanks, Rashid. I actually had already said to Jalon that as we collect the resources, maybe an intern would be able to input them onto the spreadsheet, so that Jalon doesn't have to just be the one, or I have to be the one, or Shay who's helping in the project. So there's all, or it could even be to help with something that has to do with social media. I don't know, JD is sort of laughing. He might be thinking, there's already a list of projects. No? Okay. Yes, Karu?
Maybe we can reach out to Revere. They work with youth. So that they,
Reach out with
Yeah, no, totally.
to,
RIA, it stands for Revere Youth in Action.
okay.
Just some insight for those who don't know about it. It was, I was part of the second establishment of the organization, but it was run by Dimple and Juan Jaramillo, the one that ran for, I forgot who he ran for, but he ran for a position earlier this year. And it was like early 2010s, but they redid it in like 2018. And essentially just focuses on youth advocating for like social justice, education justice, environmental justice, that kind of sort of thing, yeah.
So is there a representative there that you could direct to me or to you, you're the vice chair, that at least there's a contact with the HRC until we get things more formalized?
Not that I know of, but best case scenario, that would be me.
All right, so give that some thought and we
but-
can,
Yeah.
it just might be a way to
definitely
start some relationship building informally.
Yeah, I'll definitely reach out to the directors of the organization and see like what they, what like any ideas of like whether or not they want to have a collaboration, and then I'll definitely let everyone know.
Thank you, Shay. Dr. Garcia?
I just want to add to what Shay said. Just for you to know, we have a committee that falls under the Equity Advisory Board for the school department. It's called Student Agency / Restorative Justice and Social Emotional Learning. So that committee has been working under the advisement of two co-chairs that have been doing some great work on issues of equity, race, and youth empowerment. So that's something you can keep in mind for next year. We can team up, maybe with the new person coming on board. I can bring this person on board also, working with me and collaborating.
Yeah.
And certainly we can do great things. They already worked on they presented actually to the school committee already on multiple projects for the year. We're just waiting for the school committee to sit down and look at the, Rashid actually is part of the Equity Advisory Board, to look at the policies and recommendations I've made to act on those.
And so if I heard you right, that would be best to wait until the fall. But that would be another good connection, even to start before things are, we have subcommittees or the DEI is really fully up and running.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So yes, Rashid?
If you don't mind, Madam Chair, I just want to commend Vice Chair Shema for her dedication and commitment to be the voice of the youth. Sometimes I understand that Madam Chair doesn't want to create those subcommittees at this time because we don't have the resources, but it's a good idea. We welcome your ideas, and we want the youth out there to know that we are working very hard to make their future better in the city. And anything that's going to relate the youth to us, because we have to admit that we lose a lot of youth from the city. One, because we don't have any universities in here. So once they get their high school, they are going somewhere else for their 4 years degree or whatever, for any university. Then we don't have those best jobs, that well-paying jobs here in the city to keep those youth in here. But we want to have that relationship with them, and we want them to understand that we are here advocating for them. And thank you, Madam Vice Chair, for your commitment again.
And just to clarify, Rashid, any reluctance to forming subcommittees is really because we don't even have goals and objectives. We don't have we thought we'd have an ED, an executive director, and then now that will be a DEI that overall will be better for us, but that person isn't on board. So it's not that there's a lack of interest or reluctance, and that's why I'm suggesting there might be ways for us to make connections while that time that we were able to have better systems in place.
Understand, Madam Chair. I didn't. What I meant is I just don't want Shayma to feel bad. Sometimes she feels that her ideas are kind of rejected, but she's been doing a great job being the voice of the youth out there. And we are here for them. And each person is probably representing a certain group out there.
Thank you, Rashid. So again, there's no reason that we can't start to get youth involved without having a subcommittee, or anyone else involved without having a subcommittee. Karu, did you want to say anything?
I think in a perfect world, I would love to have subcommittee with different group, like LGBTQ group subcommittee, people with disabilities subcommittee, the youth one. It's happening, right, in the future when we have the executive director, we can work with them to coordinate all of that.
And it might even be that they could be affinity groups that
Right.
don't require all the formality of a subcommittee, but that they can still have their own community and be able to give input. Okay. So,
Madam Chair, I have a question,
go ahead.
if I may. So I'm just curious if there's any updates regarding the statute update, and just better understanding, if we are to conduct investigations, what they should look like, what our procedures are, what the city envisions, that task to be. Obviously, we don't represent the public, and we wouldn't, but just like the procedure of how we would even, investigate grievances.
So my understanding is that once there is a DEI on board, that person will be involved in helping to rewrite and update the ordinance.
Okay,
And those decisions around whether there will be a mediation process and how it will take place, and if the city will outsource it, or if it would happen within the sort of realm of the HRC or not. It may be handled in legal or by an outside agency. But my understanding is that the DEI will help to actually rewrite and update the ordinance.
Thank you.
So in closing with this topic, Jalon, is it enough to follow up with sort of by email in requesting, like once we figure out the process and if we have an intern to assist us? Is there anything more that you'd like to say?
No, I think we've covered it all. It'd be great to start getting more resources or some feedback, as you
Okay.
said, from email.
Okay. All right. Thank you all. Is there any other business?
I just have an announcement, actually, as a follow-up of the reports that we received from the museum probably a month ago. So I did work with the board of the museum, and also I submit a grant proposal to the High Market People's Funds, and we received $5,000. Also, I submit a proposal. It's a good job. Thank you. Thank you so much, Kuro. So I did submit another proposal to Resist. So right now we have $6,000 to create the multicultural section at the museum. I got a request from the Latino community, and I'm welcoming other communities who are giving out mini grants of $1,000 for anyone who wanna advertise or promote their heritage at the museum. We will showcase that work, that project at the Moroccan Festival, which will be happening in August, actually on August 14th at the Whelan Elementary School. So this is a good example. Sometimes we don't have to agree on everything, but if we disagree, it's probably like it's a start to work on something. And this is a good example. We should be sharing those examples with the public out there. We are taking their concerns, their comments into consideration, and we are working hard to address them. And thank you so much.
Thank you so much for sharing that update, Rashid, and for doing that work. Shay?
I just want to, congratulate Rashid. It's awesome about all the money that you got from all the grants, and I'm pretty sure, that, the public are definitely happy about it. My question is, how can we as the HRC, encourage people of other cultures to take a part of this project and, encourage them to be like, hey, this project is for you to show off your culture, to educate everyone on your culture. How can we spread more information about that?
Can I just make a point of privilege? Perhaps we can reach out to the mayor and his comms people, and maybe they can help us develop that message and get it out there.
So thank you, Chief Wright, that you're suggesting that we can reach out to the mayor's
I
office.
want to thank Rashid. That's
Yes.
unbelievable work, just taking the initiative, going out there, writing the grant. I mean, like this, from the time we visited the museum. I mean, it's just fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your supporting word. It's my pleasure. We are here to serve, and I'm very grateful to the High Market People's Funds, and I'm grateful also to Resist, to believe in our mission. And probably there is a lot of resources out there. We just have to knock doors and make things happen. And we welcome everyone from the community to help us make this city better. And thank you.
Yes, Dr. Garcia.
I just want to thank Rashid for all his efforts and commitment to the people of Revere. Rashid has been instrumental, even work with me on multiple projects in the school department, joined the Equity Advisory Board, presenting progressive ideas in terms of how to really increase and improve equity across the board in our city. He has worked and presented actually to our principals, assistant principals and directors, talking about projects that he has to support our graduates, even those who are on the verge of graduating, to go and get a degree and a certificate and move along with their lives. And it's just, I just don't know where he finds time to do these type of things. I just want to thank you for your work. Continue what you're doing. It's a pleasure working with you, Rashid. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Garcia. It's a pleasure working with you.
So I think it's pretty unanimous that all the HRC members appreciate Rashid's efforts.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. Thank you all for your support.
Any other business?
Do you mind if we could, just like in the remaining time that we have, either address the situation that happened at Casablanca about a couple of weeks ago? It's either that or can we put out some sort of statement about what did happen in Winthrop a couple of days ago? I feel like, you know, as the HRC, since this was like a hate crime and like a racially based hate crime, I feel like it's appropriate for us to say something that this doesn't happen in our own city. That's all, you know, that's just my 2 cents on it, but obviously, like, what do you guys think?
Well, it's not a topic on the agenda. It's an ongoing investigation. So at this time, we cannot speak at it at a public meeting. And Chief Callahan, if you want to add anything, you're welcome to.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Just in regards to the Casablanca matter, it's currently ongoing in the local court. So for us to speak about it would probably not be the proper thing to do. And there's a process, and it's going to go through that process. And then after, when it gets resolved, that we can discuss it.
Okay, thank you for the clarification.
And I did see the mayor's office did
Yes.
issue a statement on the Winthrop incident.
Yeah, so the mayor's office issued a statement. I checked before our meeting because I thought it might come up about the Winthrop situation. And, you know, the mayor's office, the chief, you know, we're not pushing aside the Casablanca incident. We're not hiding it, but we need to follow certain protocol for the integrity of the investigation. And then in an appropriate time, there'll be, you know, further discussion on it.
Yes, absolutely.
Madam Chair, I'm not going to get into the details, but I just want to mention that Chief Callahan and the mayor's chief of staff, we met and things are going in a very, very good direction. I put like a statement out there on Facebook. I was very upset, but things are going very well, and I'm very, very happy about the outcome, and things are going toward the right direction.
Thank you for acknowledging
Thank
that,
you.
Rashid.
Thank you.
I have a question. So I know you forwarded the mayor's statement about Winthrop, but where is that in the public arena?
I'd like JG to respond to that because aren't you part of the communications team?
Not quite.
Okay.
At this point, I'm not entirely sure. I believe it was posted on social media, but I'm not entirely sure at this point. I don't tend to do the communications in the office.
Okay. Do you know if there'll be a press release other than social media? Do you know if it's going into like the newspapers or anything? You know, I'm not sure how effective that is these days.
Yeah, at this point, I'm not entirely sure. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Do you want me to find out?
I think it would be helpful, right? I did go looking for it and couldn't find it, and I just
Okay.
thought, I'd just like to know where these kind of things are generally put out there when they happen for now and for future.
I also did inquire, you know, that maybe it would have been helpful to mention the Hrc in that statement because it was a hate crime. However, when the statement was created, that wasn't, you know, that still wasn't determined. And again, these are communications that when we have a DEI, because that person would be involved in that kind of a statement. Karu?
Madam Chair, I'm wondering if we can make a general statement in terms of how we not supporting this type of crime. Just very general, why they're doing the investigation, nothing really targeted. I think it would be great for the community to see from the HRC.
I mean, I would suggest, since we don't have a DEI director, if anyone on the commission wants to send me a suggested statement, and then I can forward it to the mayor's office. You know, it's really the decision of the mayor and the chief of staff.
A point of A point of clarification, has the mayor made any particular statement or?
Yes.
So-
Yes, I sent it by email, I think, yesterday. I had inquired, because I had a feeling it would come up, and then I forwarded the statement to the group.
Should we make the mayor's statement our statement? That's a question I'm asking. Or should we write a statement, a standalone statement? If I understand, just in my view, I think if the mayor has already made a statement, we could potentially use that statement, put it on our page, rather than using and writing another statement.
Yeah.
Just an idea.
Yeah,
As long, he's the mayor of the city.
yes.
He basically oversees the city department. He's in charge. So if he put a statement out there, I think that, I don't know if if we all do remember when a statement on the crime that has been committed against the Asian, Pacific Island, there was a statement he made, and we put it on I'm just wondering if it's worth the effort to replicate the statement alone, or use
Yeah.
what the mayor has already put it out there.
I think that's a good point. So I will follow up to determine, to Jalon's inquiry, where did that statement get publicized?
Okay.
And at the same time, I'll also inquire, would, the mayor and the chief of staff like us to create a statement or just post that statement on our webpage? Am I capturing what you're
Yes,
suggesting?
I just
Okay.
want to clarify whether we should use that or should
Yep.
create our own standalone statement.
I mean, we can also do a joint statement as well
We
from
could.
the mayor and the HRC.
But I do agree with Dr. Garcia, this is really the mayor's decision. We sort of serve the mayor, we report, we make recommendations to the mayor, so he's receptive. I'll sort of present the discussion and see, they may decide it's best to wait till there is a DEI in place to help decide how these statements should be handled in general. Because if we start to create a process now, and then it's decided that only the mayor should issue a statement, it might be confusing, but I'll just bring it up and see, should we create something? Should we just restate, put that on our page, or not do anything that they feel that enough has been done? Any other topics? JD, there's no one here in person. I don't think there's anyone on Zoom, so we don't have a public forum, correct? Yep, correct. So I'll entertain motion to adjourn.
I'll second that motion.
You can start the motion.
I can start that motion, I apologize. Motion to adjourn?
Second.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Hi, and Lynn Alexis is raising her hand. Thank you. The meeting is adjourned.
Have a safe holiday, everyone.